The young farmer, Jeremiah, pulled his tattered cloak tighter around his scrawny shoulders. The nights were still cool, even though it was on the cusp of summer, but nothing was as it should have been in the kingdom of Rarea. Or perhaps the chill Jeremiah felt came from fear at being out so late, and not the temperature at all. But he had to stay out in the field with his flock instead of rolled up in his thin blankets by the fire. The wolves had hunted his sheep every night for the last week. Now there were only a handful of the animals left, but if they lost even one more, then he and his little sister, Hannah, would starve within the 12-month, if not sooner. Jeremiah and Hannah only had one another. Their parents had died the previous winter of a wasting disease that turned them into bloodless husks, so it fell on his 15-year-old shoulders to keep them fed, clothed, and with a roof over their heads. The shadowed eyes that looked out of Jeremiah's pinched and pale face looked much older than his scant years. He stiffened as something flickered in the corner of his two old eyes. His head shot towards the movement, but it was not what he expected to see. Instead of two grey, shaggy forms loping out of the tree line, it was two men, Willis and Connor from a neighbouring farm. They were crouched low and heading towards his precious, depleted flock. Their clothes flapped around their too thin limbs. Everyone in Rarea was hungry, yet Willis and Connor's family had always gotten on with his. Surely it was the wolves and not the men who were taking his animals, wasn't it? They knew the dire situation that he and Hannah were in. They wouldn't steal from children, would they? "Oi! What are you doing, Willis?" "Connor," Jeremiah called, rising up from his hiding spot behind a fallen-down fence post. The two men froze, then turned towards him almost as if one. The older of the two, Willis, slowly straightened up to face him. His eyes looked deeper set than Jeremiah had ever seen them. Connor jerked upright too. His cheeks were so sunken that they looked like they'd been carved out by giant spoons. Want was stamped upon both their faces like a brand. "Jeremiah, what are you doing out here?" Willis asked with fake bonhomie, as if they were meeting in the Rose and Thorn pub, and not in a darkened field in the middle of the night. "Wolves," Jeremiah answered and swallowed. His right hand moved ever so slightly towards the knife he wore at his belt. "Wolves have been attacking the flock at night, dragging them off into the woods." He tipped his head towards the lupine woods, whose tree line was only 50 feet away. That was what he had thought happened. But what if, instead of wolves carrying off his sheep, Willis and Connor had? Yes. Wolves are a problem." Willis rubbed the back of his neck with a dirty hand as he casually walked towards Jeremiah. "Aren't they a problem, Connor?" Willis's younger brother blinked owlishly as if he were waking from a deep sleep. "Aye, yeah, they are, Willis. Wolves. Big wolves with their teeth and all." Connor then let out a shrill laugh that had the hair on the back of Jeremiah's neck standing on end. Both men were now only 10 feet away from him. They had moved apart from one another, coming at him from both sides. If they rushed him at the same time, he'd be overwhelmed. Was he really thinking that Willis and Connor were going to attack him? That was madness. These were people he had known his whole life. They wouldn't hurt him. Yet his right hand drifted closer to his knife again. The movement did not go unnoticed. "He's reaching for his little knife there, Willis," Connor scowled. "Being unfriendly? Well, that isn't neighbourly at all now, is it?" Willis tisked. "Nor is stealing sheep. You know Hannah and I need them," Jeremiah cried, revealing that he knew the truth of what the brothers were doing out here. "Well, we need them more," Willis stated flatly. "You and your sweet Hannah are so small. You can't need as much food or water." "Sweet Hannah! Sweet Hannah! You said I could see her tonight, Willis," Connor whined. Willis shot Connor a look that told him to shut up. But Connor just whined Hannah's name again, and a more maddened light came into his eyes. "Don't you go near my sister," Jeremiah cried, and whipped out the knife. He thrust it towards them, first at Willis and then at Connor when the younger brother took a step towards him.